Good afternoon, one and all. Welcome to the video. In this video, I would be guiding you how to get started with Python, Flask, Celery, Redis, and pack everything together in a Docker container. So it's gonna be an amazing journey. Might be this video might be a little long, but I ensure you that I would basically make sure that you understand all the concepts pretty clearly. I have my iPad up. I'm gonna draw some diagrams, and I have actually a pretty nice example. So first of all, let's see what we are about to make in this tutorial, what we are about to learn. So first of all, if you see when I make a request to that API, I get a task ID. So we are doing an async, right? So we get a task ID. Then based on that task ID, you can check the status. So currently you can see it's pending. So the workers are working in the background. The Celery workers, we are using Redis as a we are using basically broker is basically Redis. So if you see again, it's gonna be pending, pending, pending. So we keep making requests pending. So it takes. I have like a delay of like 5 seconds. So it's simulating the delay. So let's wait for a couple of more seconds. So here you can see it's still pending. And after a while, when the data is processed by the workers, you can get the result with the another API. So result is none because still it's pending. So the workers are working in the background. Here you can see simple workers, they have started the work, they got a task. So now let me basically again show you. So still pending. So let's wait for a couple of more seconds. Meanwhile, we get the data. I'm pretty sure I kept the delay for like about 5 seconds. So I'm just gonna double check. So all of this we are gonna learn in this video. Like we're gonna create a task queue, this, that, all of that. So yeah, I think it's a 20-second delay. I think it's a pretty long delay. So let's wait for a couple of more. Yeah, 20 seconds. So should be there. So it's still pending. So let's wait for 20 seconds. And by the way, I'm also going to explain you the complete architecture on how we should approach such async architectures. Like we will see how we'll break down. Um, right now in this architecture, I have like Flask, Redis, Celery, everything is there. One thing that I don't have is basically a web proxy gateway and Nginx. So I'm going to add that as well in the upcoming video. So it's going to be fun. So let's see if it's still pending. Okay, pending, pending, pending. So I'm gonna keep it here and I'm gonna move to my iPad so I can, kind of like explain you the architecture. So let's get started. So what is the convention? So basically, I wanna explain you right from basic because a lot of people quite not understand what exactly Celery does. So I wanna basically go with really very basic. So it's still pending. So it's gonna take like 20 seconds, but I can start the explanation. So initially, assume we have a. Oops, let me take my pencil. Let's choose a color. I think the red is fine. I'm gonna take a white. So let's say this is our client, right? We have these clients. Okay. So initially, what we have is this: you're running a Flask application. Let's say you are accessing some kind of a resources or database. You put the database, then you return the data back, and this comes to the client. So this entire thing is a synchronous architecture. As you can see, yeah, the client has to wait unless and until the data is posted on the database, or basically if you're doing some kind of image processing, resume processing, any kind of processing, you are basically this is a synchronous architecture where you have to wait unless and until it completes. But what happens is in this, let's say you're doing some processing and at the same time the second client came in. So there's a problem, right? We need to develop an async architecture for that. So that's the reason we should consider learning all of these things. So it's still pending. It's still there in the queue though. Yeah, it's gonna take a while, I guess. So 20 seconds delay. Let me keep that one. uh, 72. Hopefully the ID that I entered was correct. So it's 85. And what did I enter here? Yeah, so it's 85. That's perfect. So it's still pending. Let wait for the queue to process that data. So what we want to do instead of this one, this is what we had before. Oops. Okay, so instead of this, I'm actually saying what we do. Let's say we want to do some processing, right? So this is a client. So he's gonna access the REST API, right? What we do essentially is basically we would use Redis here to put it into a queue. So that data is put it into the queue, and as soon as you put the data into a queue, you get a task ID. We return the task ID to the user, and here we have workers. who's gonna poll the queue and gonna process these stuff. As soon as for example, if the worker one started the process with the task ID, whatever, once it's complete, what they do is basically they put the data back into the queue or whatever you want to think of as, and then basically the user can basically check, make a request with the ID that they got. If the task is complete, so basically if the task is complete, they're gonna basically hit an API. If it's complete, they can get the results. We have an API endpoint for that as well. So that's async. So what you did is basically you made a request, the data was in the queue and it's processing in the background, and immediately you give it a task ID saying the user that, hey, I have got your request and please wait, I'll process that request, right? So that's kind of what we are trying to achieve here, right? So basically, as I said again, user places the data hits the API. We put that, we use Redis or RabbitMQ as a messaging broker. Basically, we put the data on the queue. At the leisurely pace, the worker keeps polling the data from the queue, and once the data is polled with the particular task ID, they would be processed by the workers, and the workers, after processing it, would put back into some kind of a queue or basically some kind of a database, and the user can simply retrieve the data from the database or whatever you want to call as with the particular task ID. That's the overall journey that we are trying to follow. Hopefully that should make sense. Hopefully the architecture diagram did make sense to you guys. Let me see if this is working or is still pending. It looks like it's still pending for some reason. Let me do one thing. I want to make sure I make this to like 4 seconds here, and I want to do a Docker Compose build up here again. So I'm gonna build that Docker Compose again. So it should start all of that: Celery, Flask, Redis. So you can see Redis is started. So we are gonna code everything, okay? So we will learn all of these things, right? So let's try that again. I'm gonna come here, wanna make a request, give me a task ID, right? Ideally it should take like 4 seconds. So I'm hitting the status API, success, so you can see success. And if you want to grab the data, actually I just reduce the delay. I don't want to wait for 20 seconds, so the task is 3. So as you can see, the architecture, I'm trying my best to make you guys understand what's happening behind the scenes. Again, as I said, let me try to explain you a little bit, and then we'll do the coding of all of that, okay? So we have this task right here. Oops, sorry. So we have this user who's making an API call to the REST API. So simple. So basically, that's the call we are making. What we do is basically we put that in the task. So task.longtimeAdd, that's a function in that. So if you see, longtimeAdd is a function, right? Quarks is basically what arguments you're passing. So you're passing 1 and 2 numbers there. So it's going to receive those numbers, right? And the job is basically to add those 2 numbers. So we pass that quarks, and we basically return the ID, the asynchronous task ID. Though the workers are gonna keep polling the queue in the background. If you see simple worker 1, they are polling the queue, right? They are trying to say, hey, give me the data, check the queue if something is there. So they poll the data with the particular task ID. Once the data is there, what I have a simple endpoint here which takes a task ID. So basically, based on that task ID, what you could do is basically it returns a status, whether it's pending or success. And if you see the status as success, you can basically get the data. Again, simple, we say simple app.async result. We give it a task ID dot result, and we return the result to the user. So that's kind of a like a flow. And if you want to see the Docker Compose file, the YAML file, so we have a simple build, everything in that folder called as Flask. Expose port 5000, it depends on Redis. This is the worker that we have defined, Celery worker. So this is the Redis image, Celery image, right? So if you go to the Celery, there should be a Docker file, which is right here. So we are using basically Python 3.8 slim version. We are copying everything, the requirements.txt. We add all of we create a directory in that Docker container, and we just start the Celery a task worker log level info. So we basically starting the Celery worker. There are various modes you can use: burst mode, low high mode. There are several modes you can of course use it. Now let me come to my iPad again, and then explain you where exactly you should use some kind of this kind of architecture. So let's say we are developing something, an application called as an images. We want to do something with the images. So the user will upload an image, and you want to basically so here's the thing. So user uploads an image. What you want to do is you want to create different image size, like thumbnail size and logo size or whatever, something like that. So in this kind of architecture, you definitely want to use a task queues and stuff like that. So what you would do, again, I'm going to show you. I'm going to draw the entire like image architecture here, and of course the caching unit also. So let me just show you. So that's the user. This is the ideal architecture that I'm following. This is a web proxy gateway. Okay, so the first thing that would happen is user would upload an image. Once the user uploads an image, the web proxy gateway, the gunicorn, it would start a gunicorn worker or WSGI file. So this would basically start the WSGI worker, right? This would create instances of your Flask app. Now, what you would do is basically this request would be handled by any one of the app. Let's say assume this is where it's gonna be handled. So we got the image data. So actually, I'm gonna take a different color though. Take a red one. So okay, so we came here. The image came here. What we do is basically now we have a Celery task queue, of course Docker and all of that. Basically, we would place this data into a task and into a queue, and we would return a task ID. Would give a task ID, and we would return the task ID to the user. So the user got the task ID. Let's say 1234 is the task ID. Now what happens is basically we would have an endpoints here. So first of all, of course, we will have an endpoint known as upload image, which would take a base 64 string, right? So it would take a query parameter, data. You would have an endpoint called as get images, maybe. This would have a query parameter, the task ID. So basically, what you would do is basically you would keep check. Basically, after every like 1 minute or 2 minutes, if you want, you can keep the client would, or on the client side browser, you would basically query get images, which would take a task ID, and basically this is what we will do, right? I just showed you, right? So we would check the status. If the status is pending, return the user. It's, we are working on it. If it's done, get the result and return the JSON result. So that's kind of what we want to do. And also what we that's like a overall big picture, that how you would like implement everything, the WSGI worker, and of course all of this is in a Docker container. Everything is containerized, so you can easily deploy it on AWS or whatever stuff you want to do. So that's kind of gist of the idea. Now let me try to make you guys understand the code, a very simple basic code. Hopefully that should make sense. So I'm gonna switch to my other screen now. Yeah, let me show you. So this code is there on my GitHub section. On this, if you come here, it should be there on the GitHub section. I would recommend watching the first two parts of basics, at least understanding how everything works. So now let us understand the overall how everything is laid off. So we have a top level file called as Celery. Actually, you know what? I think it would be a good idea if so let me take my notepad. Let me keep my iPad here. It's kind of, I don't have space on my table here though. So yeah, I wanna basically, what I will do is I'm gonna keep here. So I'm actually trying to draw the folder structure so people can understand, right? We wanna make sure we understand everything instead of blindly following. Okay, you know. So yeah. So that's that. Okay. So that's the folder structure we have. So first thing we wanna have. So this basically has this would have two folders, the Flask app, right? Flask app, and they would also have one more folder basically called as the worker, where you would any background task you want to do, you would put it here, right? Now, as I said, this one right here would the Flask app is further like divided. If you open up that, it has an app, a Docker file, and a requirement.txt. So I'm not sure if I can draw that correctly though. I think yeah, so the Flask app, I'm trying my best to make it as basic as possible. So the Flask app, okay, has following components. Let me, okay, so the Flask would have a requirements.txt file. What's going on? Requirements.txt would have a Docker file, and I will explain everything what's going on. A Docker file. Of course, we would have an app.py. And remember, you know what? I just have like done everything, the app file, everything in one file. Ideally, you want to separate the everything like I'll you know, the model, the view, and the controller, all of that. So that's that. Now the simple worker. Want to do that as well. This guy has basically again I think gonna redo all of that. Simple worker has Docker file requirements and task.py instead of app.py. So far so clear, right? That's the folder structure, right? Now let's come to the app. Let's come to the requirements first. So basically we are just using Flask and Redis. Those are the two requirements we have. Coming to the Docker file of that, so we are using a Python Slim version. We are copying the requirements txt on the Docker container. We are creating a directory called as Flask app and adding all the current file in this work directory there. We have an environment variable called Flask env, which is set to development. Flask run host, that's the host that we want to run. Flask run, right? This is basically for Gunicorn workers. So if you're running into production, you want to make sure you have a Gunicorn workers. So you know, you can do that. You can set the number of threads and all of that. So you know, you can do that as well. After that, coming to the Flask, so let's go to the app now. Let's try to understand what's going on. So we import a Flask. We create an instance of a Flask app. Now, basically, if let me get this one off. So I'm defining a very simple queue. I'm creating an instance of a Celery, and I'm saying that, hey, simple worker, and the broker would be the Redis, and the backend would be also Redis for both the situation. So now what happens is, if you come here, there's a file called as task.py, which is basically we want to add two numbers, right? Now to make you guys understand even better, I'm gonna split my screen horizontally or vertically, I would say. Excuse me. Sorry for that burp. What we are doing here, if you see both the code simultaneously, we created an app, right? And in this task, we have a function called as longtime.add. So basically here we defined our task. So in this task.py, we have to define our queue. So we defined a Celery queue, whatever you want to call, we defined called as task. And whenever you want to create anything as a background process, you decorate that with app, I mean the instance of Celery dot the name of the task queue. So in this case, it's task. So I'm just going to say decorate with that. That's all you got to do. Now in the code, when you want to add something, you basically, you know, you create an instance of a class, right? Simple worker. So you say that, and you use the word send task. So what happens is send task would basically take an argument. You want to send the task to where? You want to say that, right? So the name of this queue, that is task dot the function name. So dot the function name, and kwargs basically means what arguments does that take. So again, I'm gonna write here. So okay, so that should make sense. Okay, that's pretty much basic. And what we do is basically we access dot id attribute, and basically we're returning an id, right? Now what we do is basically if you want to check the status of that, so based on the ID, it accepts an ID, right? So we use simple app dot async result. That's one of the methods when you create an instance of a salary object. It takes a task ID and app is equal to simple app. So app is equal to the instance of a salary, whatever. So this would return the status of those whatever we call workers, right? So, and if you want to actually get the data, what you could do is you could simply call dot result on that. That would return the result. So, I mean, I hope this makes sense. Everything should make sense, how everything is laid off. And just to make sure, we see the Docker container file for the salary. So we have similarly, we create a work directory, all of that. And to start the workers, so we say salary A, task, worker, log level info. You don't want to add log level info for debugging, it's fine. But, you know, uh, you want to use like some kind of like a burst mode or something like that. And log level info is just basically for if you want to see the logs and stuff like that. So that's that. You have a requirements.txt. Here I just have salary and redis. Task file as usual, same thing. So pretty simple. Let's see the docker compose.yaml file. We create a container, build everything in that folder, simple one. User nobody, depends on Redis and Flask app because it depends on Flask, makes sense. We have a Redis, we are exposing port 6379. Of course we gotta do that. And in the Flask we are saying port expose port 5000. So that's pretty much it. It's very basic, very simple example to understand salary. I would recommend you to download my this repository, clone it, try it out, understand how everything works, the overall flow. That would help you to brush up your knowledge and stuff like that. So hopefully this should make sense, how everything is laid off. What I would do in the next video is basically I would try to use basically Flask RESTful. One sec. So basically I would try to use Flask RESTful, and instead of using this decorators, I would use like classes, like that's how I make like REST APIs. I got this code from one of the GitHub repositories, and I kind of like tweaked it. So if you of course if you only copy code, you should give credits. I think I did fork his repository. I would leave the links for the original repositories as well on the description section. Let me see if I can find it quickly. I guess that's the one. Oh no, that's the repository I created. So if I try to see the fork one, I think I fork, yeah, that one. So no, this one had an issue. So I basically, if you see here, oops, that one. Actually, I forked from this guy, but it had issue. I try running this. So if you see, I actually opened error. Yeah, that's the one that I opened up. So that I had an issue. So I tried several examples from GitHub, and I'm basically showing you the thing that is working, right? Because I don't want to waste your time. You can come here and easily get the code, and everything works fine. Hope everything makes sense to you. If so, do give a like. I really want to thank. We have reached 10,000 subscribers. Once again, thank you for love. Thank you for support. Keep smiling. Keep coding. And as usual, I would continue the videos. And the next video we would basically try to make it a little more organized. Creating this folder structures and hierarchy in the API. We'll be using Flask RESTful instead of using these decorators. I don't kind of like that. So yeah, we'll use like query parameters instead of these stuff. So yeah, a little bit tweaking here and there, and it should be fine. That's part one. The entire part one code is on the GitHub blog. The links are in the description. Once again, thank you for watching. See you guys in the next video. Goodbye.